For those of you who wish to purchase the first two complete books of my biography, please check out the description where you will find the links to my books published on Amazon, and you can write any questions or comments below this video.
In the spring of 1972, I encountered a profound ordeal that would leave an indelible scar on my life. It began subtly, but escalated with alarming speed, ultimately culminating in the loss of my mother. She began to experience sharp pains in her abdomen. After several days of enduring persistent discomfort, she decided to consult our family doctor, who spoke Czech, ensuring my parents could communicate comfortably. Following an examination and unable to determine the source of her pain, the doctor recommended that she be admitted to the hospital for a thorough evaluation. Heeding his advice, she entered McNeil Hospital in Oak Park, a suburb of Chicago, the very next day. 2 days later, I returned home from school and began preparing my late lunch when the telephone rang. I picked it up, half expecting a mundane exchange, but it was the doctor. "Doctor, good afternoon. May I speak to your dad, please?" "Good afternoon, doctor. I'm sorry, but my dad left for work about an hour ago. Can I take a message?" "Doctor, I really need to speak with your father in person. I'll give you the number where he can call me back as soon as possible. Please, I beg you, just tell me. Whatever it is, I can handle it. Please, doctor." "All right then, make sure you are sitting down and listen very carefully. First of all, I ask you to tell this to your father only. Is that a deal?" "Yes, certainly." "Doctor, the results of your mother's tests came back positive. She has been diagnosed with malignant pancreatic cancer. I recommend that you visit her as much as possible because her life expectancy is about a month at most. Just remember, do not let your mom know the truth about her condition. Instead, try to keep her spirits up and maintain her hope that she will recover." "Yes, doctor, I will." After hanging up, I collapsed onto the floor, pounding it with my fists as tears streamed down my face. I cried and cried, overwhelmed by a piercing pain I had never experienced before. My father wasn't home that afternoon. He had already left for his night shift as a janitor in one of the downtown Chicago buildings. I spent an agonizing, sleepless night alone, burdened by the weight of the news I would have to share. The following morning, I embraced my dad, tears streaming down my face, and relayed the heartbreaking news the doctor had shared with me the day before. From that day on, I visited my sweet mother at the hospital every day, forcing myself to smile, while at the same time suppressing my tears and choking my burning grief inside. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting a sterile glow that felt at odds with the sadness I longed to express. Each visit was a dance of pretense. I had perfected the art of putting on a happy face, though it felt more like a mask each time I walked through those heavy double doors. There I saw her, lying fragile in the pale blue sheets, my heart fractured in ways I didn't think possible. Her once vibrant smile appeared muted, lost somewhere in the haze of pain and medication. But I resolved to bring light into that room, to peer into the shadows of her illness and find the spark of hope that would guide us both home. "Hi, Mom! Mother Toniko, my darling, you've brought me flowers." "Yes, I thought they could use a little sunshine." "Mother, just like you, you'll be so proud of me, Mom. School's going great. I aced my last geometry test. Remember those equations you used to help me with?" "Mother, I remember. You always had a knack for those numbers, sweetheart." "Dad and I are looking forward to your return home. We're working on fixing up the garden for when you come back. You'll love it. We've got tomatoes and sunflowers on the way." "Mother, tomatoes, huh? That sounds delicious." One afternoon, as I shared yet another triumph from school, her gaze drifted, lost in a memory I could not enter. "Mother, Toniko, do you ever stop to think about what's really important?" "Mom, of course. I just want you to get better." "Mother, sweetheart, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to be vulnerable. We're in this together, remember? But I'm supposed to be strong for you." "Mother, you don't have to carry all of this alone. We lean on each other, Toniko. That's how we heal." At that moment, the weight of my facade crumbled. I cried for the loss of my mother. I feared more than anything for the memories yet made, for the laughter that had been overshadowed by this cruel uncertainty. It was a cathartic release, bathed in the glow of understanding that shattered the walls I had built. From that day on, my visits changed. I learned to share not just my triumphs but also my fears, my laughter mingling with sorrow. And she, in her fragility, taught me the strength of vulnerability. Together, we navigated the complexities of love and fear, hope and despair, forging a bond that was tempered through both joy and sorrow. As each day passed, I recognized the true power of togetherness, and slowly, so did she. No longer did I hide my tears or suppress my grief. I learned that sometimes, in reaching out, we create the space that allows for real healing, an openness that bridged the worlds between us. With each visit, the darkness dimmed just a little more, and in that small room, lit by the harsh glare of fluorescent lights, we found moments of brilliance, a reflection of the love that tied us together, a love that would carry us both home again. The air was filled with a heavy silence when the call came through. My father and I sat in the sunlit kitchen, his hand trembling as he held the phone. Though the doctor's voice was composed, the words came like a storm. My mother had passed away in the early hours of the morning. The world stopped for a moment, as if taking a silent pause before resuming its indifferent motion. In the days that followed, grief became a familiar presence, a new but unwanted member of our family. The wake was held at the local funeral home, a small building adorned with ivory walls and tall, unfeeling columns. Friends and family gathered, sharing whispered condolences and hushed stories of my mother's kindness and laughter. My father stood at the entrance, a sentinel greeting each mourner with a handshake that spoke louder than any words could. The following day, under a sky that mirrored our somber hearts with its overcast gloom, we accompanied my mother's body on a procession to the cemetery. The route was lined with trees that swayed gently as if bowing in respect. An elegant mausoleum stood at the cemetery center, its marble surfaces cold and imposing. Here we laid her to rest, surrounded by florals that seemed inadequate against the stark finality of the day. That night I lay in bed, the quiet of my room seeped in shadows that stretched across the walls like specters. Exhaustion finally overtook the sorrow numbing my mind, pulling me into a dream that was vivid, almost surreal in its clarity. In my dreamscape, I found myself standing at the gate of the cemetery once more. The surroundings were unchanged, save for an ethereal glow that seemed to illuminate the path toward my mother's resting place. As I approached the mausoleum, there she stood, my mother, her beauty amplified by the bridal gown she wore, its fabric a soft pink, the hue she cherished most, tonico. Her voice carried warmth and gentleness, enveloping me in a wave of familiarity. Her smile was radiant, as serene as the dawn breaking over a tranquil sea. She gestured towards her tomb, the simple motion holding an eternity of meaning. I am not there. Before I could reach out, before I could utter a plea for her to stay, she began to fade, her form dissolving into the soft light. Yet her presence lingered, a comforting veil over my heart where her memory would forever dwell. I awoke with a start, her words imprinted on my mind, their significance resonating with a newfound understanding. The days that followed were painted with the realization of her message. My mother was not confined to the boundaries of a grave. She lived within every cherished memory and every lesson imparted. Each echo of her laughter in the walls of our home, each bloom in the garden she once tended with care, and each tear shared became a testament to her presence. My father and I learned to live with her absence, allowing ourselves moments of sorrow but also embracing the legacy of love she left behind. We found solace in the knowledge that she would never truly leave us. She remained stitched into the very fabric of our existence. Her spirit was a guiding light, a reminder that, although separated by reality, we were bound together indefinitely in a web of memories and invisible strings of abiding love.
For those of you who wish to purchase the first 2 complete books of my biography, please check out the description where you will find the links to my books published on Amazon, and you can write any questions or comments below this video.